Sit back, relax, and enjoy listening. This situation persisted for a few days. RK tried everything to take care of her because he believed it was his responsibility. He tried to do everything he possibly could while also maintaining distance, knowing SV would never like him or what he'd do. Even after all this, all RK wanted was for her to eat and rest properly because her health was not good. However, she never acknowledged or appreciated his efforts. All she did was come home late, night after night, so RK always ended up sleeping before she arrived. She would leave for the office early in the morning, before he even woke up. RK grew increasingly tired of this, yet he still tried to stay awake late, night after night. However, after long days of practice and work at the company, exhaustion would inevitably take over. He explored new ways to keep himself awake, like listening to music or drinking coffee, but she kept arriving later and later, and RK stayed up longer and longer, night after night. He was doing everything he could, staying out of her way, not touching her, or doing anything she hated, just to ensure she ate for her health. Yet, she continued to ignore him. Day by day, RK started to lose his patience. He kept wondering, what did I do to deserve this kind of treatment? He didn't want to be in this marriage either, but they ended up getting married. Even after 6 months of hearing about divorce from her on their first night together, he still tried to stay calm and continued to fulfill his responsibilities, taking care of her in any possible way while managing not to provoke her anger, as she hated him and everything he did. Despite his efforts, all she did in return was ignore him. He tried to convince himself, you know who she is. This is nothing new. You knew this was going to happen before the marriage. She hates you, but that shouldn't make any difference, right? You knew this before marrying her, didn't you? Why are you expecting something to be different? What are you even hoping for? For her to care? But why? You married her because she saved your life, and you wanted to repay her, right? It doesn't involve her caring about your efforts or you. It doesn't mean she's going to appreciate that you sacrificed your life to repay her. It won't make any difference to her. Instead, it will only make her hate you more because of it. Don't you know that? So isn't it logical what she's doing? Why are you expecting her to care now? This thought made RK restless, and quickly he returned to accepting the reality that she was never going to care. Not for anything or anyone, especially not for him. He would end his thoughts by telling himself, why are you even thinking about this care and all in the first place? Remember, you are doing all this because she saved your life, and her mom thinks you can take care of her. So, nothing else, just for 6 months, and then you are free afterward. So just keep doing what you can, give your 100% and forget the rest. But every now and then he remembered her treatment, this routine, this marriage, how it all started, and then the first night when she told him she hated him more than anything in the universe. As this line crossed his mind, an unknown sensation took over his body, something he couldn't stand nor acknowledge. That deep down he wanted something else. He never accepted that feeling, and after some time he would snap back into reality. At first, it was happening only once or twice, then 5 to 6 times, and now almost every hour he would end up thinking and wondering about everything. This made him feel so alone. He wasn't properly present in the moment. His band members and company staff knew RK as someone who stayed in the present, who was positive and radiated energy, who paid attention to every detail. But that completely changed in the past few days, as all of his attention was on SV, thinking about her. He looked so tired in the mornings. The person who used to be the most energetic in the office was now completely the opposite. Waiting for SV had deprived him of proper sleep, and he always ended up sleeping on the couch. Everyone around him, especially his band members, noticed this, but they knew they couldn't do anything about it. One day, after practice, RK was alone in the practice room. The other band members had left for lunch. RK told them he would join them in 5 minutes after completing his dance practice, so he stayed behind. Once they left, RK's mind wandered back to thoughts of SV, wondering about what had happened that morning. The night before, he had stayed up almost the entire night, but she never came home. On a call with his manager, RK learned that SV had been out of the city for the past 2 to 3 days. Hearing this made RK furious for the first time. He had done so much for her, and she didn't even think it was necessary to inform him she was out of town. This was the first time RK got angry at someone else. His personality was one that never got angry, but this time SV had crossed the line. He was so lost in his thoughts, filled with anger, thinking, "This is enough. I'm not going to do anything for her from now on." For the first time, he thought that marrying her was a mistake. He felt the same, if not worse, than when she became CEO of his company and made his and his friends' lives a living hell. That feeling had faded after she saved his life, but now it was back. As these feelings consumed him, he expressed all his anger in his dance moves without realizing he was dancing so hard and so fast that he might hurt himself. He was in such a rage, lost in thoughts of SV, that he didn't realize he was about to hit the nearby table. "RK!" Jill shouted from the door. RK snapped out of it when he heard Jill's voice, but it was too late. He tried to stop himself by grabbing the table, but the force and momentum were so high that he ended up hurting his hand. Although he stopped himself from falling completely, his hand got injured in the process. Jill quickly rushed over and saw that RK's hand was bleeding. Jill was about to call a doctor, but RK stopped him by saying, "It's nothing." Jill said, "But it's bleeding, brother." RK replied, "Yeah, but it's nothing." Jill tried to cover RK's hand with a handkerchief, but RK said, "Don't worry, brother, it's nothing." Jill insisted on calling a doctor, but RK refused. Jill tried one last time, saying, "It's really bleeding hard, brother. Let me call a doctor, please." RK stayed firm in his decision, refusing. As he didn't allow Jill to call a doctor, Jill said, "You're becoming like your wife now," while taking out the first aid box and treating RK's bleeding hand. Hearing that, RK got angry for a moment, the same anger SV felt when she heard RK's name. He quickly answered, "No, I'm not. Not in any way." Jill replied, "Yes, you are. Hurting yourself in anger and not letting anyone treat it. Stubborn. She hurts herself in her anger, and so do you." RK, in shock and disbelief, realized Jill was right. He was doing the same in his anger. He hadn't realized how hard he was practicing and unintentionally hurting his own self.